Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Muscle and Mind podcast. In today's episode, I wanted to give you a breakdown of a topic that's quite popular, and it's something I'm quite passionate about, which is this idea of a growth mindset. So, I'd like to break down firstly what a mindset is, secondly, what a growth and a fixed mindset are, and then I want to look at some of the qualities of a growth mindset. Today, I just want to speak about one of them and break them down in a bit of detail. And obviously the whole goal here is to learn how can we adopt a growth mindset in the areas of our life that we want to change so that we can create the results that we want and obviously deal with any problems that we need to deal with effectively. So before we talk about a growth mindset, I guess it's important to answer a very basic question, right? What is a mindset in the first place? And a mindset is very simply a way of seeing the world and everything in it, including ourselves. So think of a mindset kind of like a pair of sunglasses. When you put on a pair of sunglasses, it gives a bit of a tint, right? Like a shade. And when you have those sunglasses on, everything that you look at, you see through that lens. Now, this actually happened to me recently. So I wear these blue blocking glasses, right? And what they do is they block out blue light. I wear them at night so that I block out a lot of the blue light around me. And this helps me sleep better because blue light basically suppresses melatonin, which makes it hard for you to sleep. So what these glasses do is they block out all blue light. So no matter what I look at, I can't see the blue light. So for example, if I watch Netflix, it looks a very different color because I'm cutting out a lot of the blue light. If you have night mode on your phone or your laptop or your TV, basically it's doing a similar thing. But anyways, these glasses, they block out blue light. So Charisse and I, my wife, we were looking out at this building. And I said to her, hey, can you see that building over there with the red lights on it? And she was like, what red lights are you talking about? So I said, the building, it's right over there. Like, it's got huge red lights coming out of it. We must have gone backwards and forwards for like 5 minutes. She's like, which building are you talking about? I said, it's right there. Can't you see it? It's literally massive. It's right in front of us. And she's like, I don't see any red light. You're going crazy. Once I took off the glasses, I realized that there was a blue light coming out. But when I saw it through the glasses, it came out as red. So we basically ended up arguing, or having a spirited debate rather, about what color the light was. The only reason I couldn't see that it was red is because the lenses that I was using was filtering all the information that I was seeing. And that's exactly how your mindset works. If you have a negative, shitty mindset, everything you see will go through that lens and you will only see the negative. If you have a solution-focused mindset, you will see the solutions. When a problem arises, you will look for solutions and not more problems. So that's a mindset in general. Right? It filters everything you see and experience, which is why two people can have the exact same experience or see the exact same thing, but have very different experiences of it, right? They can have very different interpretations of that experience, just like when I saw the red and Charisse saw the blue. So if we go from that understanding, what is a growth and fixed mindset? A fixed mindset is simply the belief that things are the way they are and there's no changing them. That's just the way it is. That's just the way I am. That's just how the world works. Anytime you hear language like that, that person, even if it's you, is coming from a fixed mindset. The belief that things are the way they are. A growth mindset, on the other hand, is very different. A growth mindset is the belief that things can change and things can improve. Whether that's our skill set, whether that's changing a particular part of our life, or whether that's dealing with and fixing a problem. If you approach these things with a growth mindset, you always believe that change is possible. You believe that things can be better and that you can be better. So a growth mindset is really the mindset we want to adopt if we want to solve our problems effectively, and if we want to be able to create the things in our life we want to create. If we go through life with a fixed mindset, It's literally like wearing the sunglasses that block out all the opportunities to develop and get better. We only see issues, we only see problems, we only see limitations, and we don't even consider the fact that we have the ability to change them. So, developing a growth mindset is essential. Now, here's the tricky thing. A growth mindset is not something you have or you don't have. It's not something that some person or some people have and other people don't. A growth mindset is something you practice or you don't practice. Now, you can have someone who has a growth mindset in every area except one. For example, you could have a growth mindset in terms of your fitness and your physique. You could look at your body and say, well, it's not perfect yet. I can change, I can do better, I can train harder, and I can improve. That same person can get in their car from the gym and go home to the relationship and say to themselves, this relationship is not working, it's unhealthy, we're both unhappy, nothing is going to change, this person won't change, I can't change, and that's just the way things are. So it is 100% possible and very common to have a growth mindset in some areas and a fixed mindset in others. How do you know if you have a growth or a fixed mindset in a particular area or towards a certain problem? Very easily. Are you taking action to make that area better or to fix that problem? If you are, most likely you are practicing a growth mindset because you're actually doing something based on the idea that change is possible. If you throw your hands up and say it's impossible, I can't do it, it's just the way it is, things will never change, you are operating from a fixed mindset. So, as we go through this conversation today, I want you to think about a particular area of your life that you want to change. Now, it can be a big area like your overall health, or it could be a very specific area, like your relationship with a particular person or your skills in a certain area. So whatever area you pick, it should be an area that you're wanting to develop, but haven't really taken the initiative to develop in. And we're going to break down the components of a growth mindset and start implementing them in this specific area. So today's session, we're going to tackle quality number 1. But let me just give you a brief overview of all of them as we frame the upcoming episodes. So the first quality of a growth mindset is belief in improvement. And we're going to tackle that today. The second element of a growth mindset is embracing challenges, seeing challenges as opportunities to grow. The third quality is persistence through setbacks, seeing failure as a good thing and changing the relationship that we have with failure. Number 4 is effort as a path to mastery, getting addicted to the feeling of working hard. Number 5 is leaning into criticism, trading our ego for education, dealing with criticism and using criticism effectively. And last but not least is inspiration from others' success, collaborating instead of competing. So, the first element is a belief in the improvements or belief in improvement, right? Belief in our ability to change. So, I want you to think of it like this. Imagine you have a hose pipe and you have all the water you could ever hope for. You have thousands of liters of water in your tank. You have the greatest amount of water pressure you need. So you can crank that tap up and you can push that water from the tank through the pipe as fast and as powerfully as you can. But there's a problem. There's a block in the pipe. Now tell me, does it matter how much water you have? Does it matter how strong your pump is? Of course not. If there's a block in the pipe, all the water, all the power in the world isn't going to make a difference because the water can never get through that block. And if you think about that pipe, right? The water is your potential. It's your natural skill, your natural ability, and your ability to improve. The water pressure is like your energy. It's like taking the energy and taking your power and using your skills to solve the problems and create the things you want. But that little block in the pipe, that is your limiting beliefs. And today I want to tell you about 3 of those limiting beliefs. And if we can knock out these 3 limiting beliefs, we are able to use the skill and ability we have to solve the problems that we face. If we do not remove those blocks, all the ability in the world means nothing, because it will always be limited by that block in the pipe. So, the first block, the first belief that we need to change in order to start developing a growth mindset, is the belief that change is possible. Now, there's a famous story of the 4-minute mile. Now, this idea of the 4-minute mile was a couple years ago, I can't remember how many. It was believed by the scientific community that if you ran a mile in under 4 minutes, your heart would literally explode. That's what they believed, because no one had ever been able to achieve it. But then came along a man named Roger Bannister. Now, Roger Bannister trained himself physically and mentally to complete the 4-minute mile. And he did it. He succeeded in running a 4-minute mile. Now, that story in of itself is incredible, right? It's testament to the power of training your body and your mind to achieve a goal. Roger Bannister said he wouldn't only train his body, he would visualize himself completing the 4-minute mile. He would visualize himself crossing the finish line, looking up at the clock, and seeing that it was less than 4 minutes. But here's the amazing part of that story. Once Roger Bannister completed it, hundreds of other people started breaking it too. How the hell does that work? And it works on actually a very simple idea. You see, the brain works on logic, but it works on its own logic. Have you ever been in an argument with someone and they tell you to think logically? Everyone thinks logically based on their idea of logic. Now, here's how this works. If you believe that something is not possible, that becomes the logic of your mind. So if your brain believes that doing a certain thing is impossible, why would it dedicate any energy or resources toward doing that thing? That's not logical. If I believe it's impossible to run through this wall, my brain is not going to tell me or give me the motivation to do it because it's stupid. Why would I give energy to something that is impossible? The problem is that our brain's idea of what is possible and impossible is not always true. Once Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, he provided the evidence to everyone else in the world that the belief that the 4-minute mile was impossible was false. Once that belief was removed from people's minds, the brain said, well, now it's possible. Now let's dedicate energy and resources to it. And voila, they were able to do it. Did everyone's natural ability change overnight? Did everyone in the world suddenly get a beautiful dose of lovely steroids? No. They always had the ability to do it. The difference is now they had evidence to remove the limiting belief that it was impossible. And that's what we need to do with ourselves. So firstly, what we need to do is, if we think that change is not possible in this area, where did you learn that? When did you decide that this was impossible? Because often what happens is these beliefs that we pick up, we learn them from people when we're very young. And the challenge with that is that we learn from people, and sometimes those people either have no business teaching us something in that area because they're shit at it themselves, or they have the best intentions, but they're wrong. And this is the importance of reconsidering the beliefs that we have. So I encourage you to think of this area of your life that you haven't changed, and that, even if it's subconsciously, you believe that it's not possible to change. And ask yourself, when did you learn that? Who taught that to you? And is it really the truth? Or is it simply an opinion that you internalized and believed to be true, and assumed that that was the only way the world worked? This is the first block that we need to smash through. One action step I can give you for this is to find someone else who has made the change you want to make. Now, bear in mind, guys, you can intellectually know that change is possible. But the logic of the brain doesn't only operate when we're calm and we're focused and we are rational. The logic of the brain kicks in the most when we are stressed, when we are anxious, when we are fearful, and when we are overwhelmed. So you need to go find evidence that someone else has made this change and plaster that evidence everywhere you can find it. Read case studies, read stories, listen to podcasts, read books of people who have made the change you want to make. Because even if you in this conversation think that it's possible, if you're not doing something about it, a part of you doesn't believe that it is. And it is your job to re-educate that part of your brain and give it a better, more realistic belief system to operate from. And you do that by finding evidence to support that belief. So this is the first blockage in our pipe we need to get through. We need to eradicate the idea that change is not possible and give ourselves evidence that change is possible in this area. The second level of change, the second block we need to deal with, is the belief that change is possible for me. You might have heard people, right, when they talk about their problems, say, well, I just can't make enough money, right? Oh, that person who grew up in that town or that country, of course it's easy for them. This person has always been fit their whole life. It's easy for you to say, right? Easy for you to lose weight. Easy for you to start a business. Easy for you to run that race. We believe that change is possible. We believe that creating this thing is possible. But we have the mistaken belief that we are the one unique snowflake that isn't able to make this change. And this is the second block we need to get through. Yes, we need to believe that change is possible, but we need to believe that change is possible for us. And if you want to be aware of if this is happening to you, listen to the language that you use. You'll hear people say, I'm just not a fit person. I'm just not a business person. I'm just not a smart person. And when you hear those words, you're listening to their beliefs about what they believe is possible for them. And the way that we break through those beliefs is that we firstly start by recognizing that, for the most part, we are not unique snowflakes. If someone else in the world has made a change, you can do it too. The only reason they have made the change and you haven't isn't based on their skill. It's not based on their upbringing. It's based on the idea that they don't have the limiting belief that you do. They don't think the same way about the problem as you do. So the way we overcome this particular block is we not only find evidence that the change is possible, we find evidence that we have changed in the past. So think about any other change you've made in your life. Think about any other problem that you've overcome. And ask yourself, how did you do that? What was the process of making that change? Once again, overcoming this belief, overcoming any belief, is about finding evidence that disproves the limiting belief and finding new evidence that implements and supports the belief you want to have. A belief is neither true or false. A belief is either effective or ineffective. And beliefs, the way we break them or make them, is very much the same as the story of the two wolves climbing the mountain. There's two wolves climbing the hill. Which one makes it to the top and wins? The one you feed the most. The thoughts and the beliefs that you feed the most through your energy and your focus are the ones that are going to dominate your life. The beliefs that you neglect to focus on and you neglect to find evidence for will wither away. Because the only way a belief exists is if you feed it with focus and energy. So to break through this layer of change, that change is possible for you, find evidence of your ability to change in other areas. Because once you start focusing on that ability, the problems you've overcome, the changes that you've made, it reinforces the belief that you're able to change this area. So this is the second layer of change, that change is possible for me. Last but not least, and this is the trickiest of all the three layers of change to break through. This is what I like to think of as the fixed mindset's last resort to keep you where you are. Because when we develop a fixed mindset in an area, we don't develop it for no reason. If you have a fixed mindset in a certain area, your brain has put that there for one reason: survival. If you have an experience, let's say something remedial, right? You fail on a 5th grade math test. You fail on the math test, you get the results, and you feel bad, right? You feel frustrated, you feel angry, you feel sad, whatever you feel. In that moment, your brain is going to create a belief to protect you from that in the future. It will create the belief that you suck at maths. And if you believe that you suck at maths, you won't give energy to it. And if you don't give energy to it, there's no chance of you failing. Therefore, you avoid the disappointment of failure. If a dog bites you, and next week a dog bites you again, and the next week another dog bites you, your brain's going to form the belief that all dogs bite. Is that true? No, but it is effective because it prevents you from getting hurt in the future. And the challenge is that beliefs are always there for a good reason. The problem is that sometimes they are outdated. Sometimes they are no longer as effective as they used to be. Beliefs are very much like pants. The pants that you wore when you were 5 years old were very effective, and they worked for you. If you try to put those pants on today, it's going to be very uncomfortable, it's going to be very painful, and it's not going to work. The exact same thing happens when you try to hold on to a belief system that used to work for you, but is no longer working for you anymore. You need to get rid of the old and update it with new beliefs that fit a little bit better and don't hurt your ass, for lack of a better term. So the third and final belief that we need to break through when it comes to shattering a fixed mindset and embracing a growth mindset is the belief that I must change now. If you believe that change is possible, that's great. If you believe that change is possible for you, that's even better. But if you don't believe that change is necessary now, you will continue to procrastinate on making that change. And here's the reason why we do it. When we are failing to make a change, if we know it's possible and we know it's possible for us, the only reason we don't change is because we believe that it will be more painful to make the change than it will be to live with the consequences of not making the change. Consider something like exercise. If someone is not consistently exercising, they are doing it because they believe at some level that it is going to be painful or uncomfortable to make the change and start exercising. Now, whatever size pain that is, let's say it's a 2 out of 10. That pain of going and exercising every day is nothing compared to the pain you will experience in the next 20 years if you fail to make that change. The pain you will experience when you cannot lift yourself off the ground, when you cannot support your own body, when your lungs and your heart are collapsing, is much worse than the discomfort of going and exercising for 20 minutes per day. But we don't think like that in the moment. We push that long-term pain out into the future, right? It's not a problem now. That's tomorrow's problem. That's 20 years from now's problem. But here's how we overcome that. We take that pain from the future that we're trying to avoid and we bring it right up close to our face. What are the consequences of not changing? What are the consequences of not having the difficult conversation in your relationship? What is your life going to look like in 20 years if you fail to make the change? What are the consequences going to be if you fail to start looking after your body today? And I guarantee you, when you start considering the pain that you will compound in the future, and you compare that to the pain of making a change today, you will see that the only logical decision is to pick the lesser of the two evils, which is to take the pain today because it is much less than the pain you will experience in the next 20 years. They are not even comparable. So in order to do this, there's quite a handy set of questions that I like to use. And they go like this. What will happen if I don't change? So what is going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years if I don't make this change? Number 2, what won't happen if I don't change? What am I going to miss out on if I don't make this change? So if you think of something like your career, what are you going to miss out on if you don't take the leap of starting your own business or going for a new job or asking for a promotion? What are you going to miss out on? Number 3, what will happen if I do change? What benefits are you going to get if you deal with this problem now and start making the changes today? And last but not least, what won't happen if I do change? What pain am I going to be able to avoid if I just focus on taking on the discomfort of doing something new today? And when you can look at the pain and the pleasure from all of these different angles, you start to provide your brain with the evidence that it really needs. Because all of us, as intellectual, logical people, understand that I would rather have a 2 out of 10 pain today than a 10 out of 10 pain tomorrow. But in the moment, we forget that. In the moment, our brains don't operate on that logic. So to overcome this final level, this final belief we need to shatter to build a growth mindset, we need to bring the pain of tomorrow into today. Because when we compare the pain of tomorrow with the pain of today, we realize that it's a no-brainer. It's much better to experience a bit of discomfort now in order to avoid a lot of discomfort later on. So these are the 3 levels of change. In building a growth mindset, breaking through these 3 levels of change in a particular area is the foundation. Like we said before, if you eliminate all those blocks from your hose pipe, now you can actually apply your natural skill and ability and energy to the problem. You might very well have the ability to start that business, or to fix your relationship, or to fix your body. But if you believe that change is impossible, if you believe that change is impossible for you, or if you believe that change is not a necessity right now, all the skill and that energy mean nothing. You can pump that water as hard as you want through that pipe. It's never going to turn into action. It's never going to come out the other end of the hose pipe. So if you want to make a change in that area, if you want to develop a growth mindset and use that as a tool to break through, these are the layers of change you need to get through first. Shatter these blocks and everything else will become a lot easier. So this wraps up our session for today. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you understand a little bit more about what a growth mindset is, and that it very much is the lens or the mindset that change is possible and that you have the ability to grow and improve. And I hope you can take what we've learned here today and apply it to the areas of your life that you need to change most. In the upcoming sessions, we're going to be having a look at the other qualities of a growth mindset. So we will be having a look, secondly, at embracing challenge, right? This idea of looking at challenges in a positive way and applying a growth mindset to the problems that we have in our way. We're going to look at how to deal with setbacks more effectively, right? How to be persistent through failure. Next, we're going to have a look at effort as a path to mastery, which means how can we frame work and effort in a positive way? How can we form a positive association with the feeling of effort and work? Number 5, we're going to look at leaning into criticism, which is developing a growth mindset around feedback. Everyone struggles with feedback at some point. No one likes to be told that they're shit at something. But in order to develop and apply a growth mindset, you have to be open to feedback. You have to learn how to take feedback constructively instead of allowing it to drain you and to make you frustrated. And last but not least, we need to look at the final component, which is inspiration from others. This is all about shifting the way you judge and compare yourself to other people. We compare ourselves to other people all the time. It's an inbuilt human mechanism. The trick is learning how to compare ourselves effectively. People with a growth mindset compare themselves to grow and to learn. People with a fixed mindset compare themselves out of jealousy, and it ultimately ends up making them feel worse and making them feel stuck in the place that they are. So this is what we're going to be covering in the upcoming sessions. I hope this was helpful today. Leave some comments below if you have any feedback or any other topics that you want us to cover. I hope you have a blessed day, and I'll see you next time.